Welcome traders, my name is Adam Harris and I'm recording this on Saturday the 29th of July, but it's for Monday, the week commencing the 31st of July 2023. So looking at the economic calendar for the week ahead, really what's going to catch my interest is going to be the Royal Bank of Australia around their cash rates and rate statement on Tuesday. There'll be a little bit around the US dollar later in the afternoon UK time, and of course Kiwi employment figures, but it'll really be about the Aussie dollar that day. Then we've got non-farm employment change ADP figures, which can create some spikes of volatilities, and sometimes, rarely, it can actually be the biggest move of the week. Then we have, and this is interesting to me, of course, out of the UK will be a whole slew of Bank of England monetary policy data, and we'll see how that turns out with regards, especially focusing on that official bank rate. And then we have some unemployment claims on Thursday as well out of the US. And then finally, the big kahuna, which is going to be Friday, which is going to be non-farm. Okay, this is usually the most predictably volatile event of every month. And technically, it's going to be next month because it is going to be in August. And most traders will just not engage in the market, stay away, stay out of the market because the markets are going to swing wildly. So it doesn't matter whether you're a buyer or seller, you will going to get triggered in and stopped out, and it is usually incredibly volatile. One of the things to keep in mind, which can happen, is that after a couple of hours, the markets tend to settle, and then they can, more often than not, they start moving, and they move until the close of the markets, which is around about 10 p.m. Friday night. And some traders will choose to take advantage of that. Most will have finished for the week and head off and have a pint with their mates. So this is what I'm looking at this week. I would expect it, because of this, to be relatively volatile. I'm not really concerned about what the figures are going to be. I don't think there's going to be any shock stuff, and the markets can react regardless. Okay, we could have the figure coming out being the same as last month, and the markets will still have a spike. So that being said, let's go to the charts and see what else is going on. So volatility index, again, no real change, staying at the low numbers there. The market is quite happy. So again, there's always the doomsayers, just everything is falling apart at the seams, but apparently the market is relatively happy with where it is right now. So nothing to be concerned about there. Then having a look at the dollar index. So I just want to mention this because we had a bit of a swing high here. The market moved down. Then we had this massive bullish engulfing candle, and we've come back up to this level. We're sitting at a level this week. And so the question really is going to be, are we seeing, especially if you look at it from a monthly perspective here, you can see a lot of bulls propping up that dollar. So the dollar could ultimately potentially move to the upside. But I do expect for the moment, we haven't quite broken this downtrend. It's a slightly high, low, high, high on the daily, but the bigger move to the downside, especially on the weekly, we're still in a downtrend and we're sitting at a major support resistance level right now. So what I'll be doing this week is watching to see if we break through this above and or below. If we look at euro dollar, it'll be a similar thing. Again, we're sitting at a level which ultimately could find support, especially if you look at it on a weekly perspective. And we could see, especially if by the end of the next week, we've finished up with a bullish candle, we could see this continue to move to the upside. So that's really what is effectively in the balance, and it's going to make it tricky because we could find that it goes all the way until Thursday or Friday, and then in the last minutes changes. So that candle, the weekly candle, could change shape just on after non-farm payroll. So it is going to be a volatile one, and traders should be aware of that. You can see again that euro is starting to show a bit of weakness in this area. Let's call it 1.11, and so just exercising some caution there. Sterling as well. Again, we've got two bullish candles here. It's trying to stay above this level. So I think initially I'll be keeping an eye on this potentially moving to the upside. They're getting a weaker dollar. Aussie dollar as well, taking a hit all the way down. It's very, very choppy on the weekly here and showing great signs of weakness on the monthly there. So a lot of that hinting at the idea that we'll continue, that we'll actually get dollar strength and we'll continue to see it move lower. Kiwi dollar as well. Similar. It's really the monthly that's offering these strong clues. It's battling to get past this area. It's very choppy. So it's fine for day traders who might only be looking for a move for a few hours, but for swing traders, it's nigh on impossible to trade. Dollar yen now producing a higher, very strong, very bullish candle. Okay, so for me, that is a hint that it is desperately trying to stay bullish. Okay, so definitely looking that way. Dollar Swissy as well. Also, effectively a double bottom, plus a very strong bullish engulfing candle, plus we've got bullish divergence. So these also looking as though they want to, or dollar Swissy looking as though it wants to push back up and test this level. And you can see on the weekly here, potentially coming back up to test these previous lows. Excuse me, dollar CAD. Also, I maintain that it's still looking bullish here. It's desperately trying to turn around. Bullish divergence. Again, all the wicks over here. So a lot of these just seem to be hinting at that dollar strength. And also all of them looking as though they have their own plans. So I'll do a quick run through the currency pairs, see if there's anything of interest there. Euro yen, again, off this level. Very strong bullish candle. You can see that bullishness there. We still got resistance up at the highs, but definitely trying to push higher. Let's run through those yen crosses as well. Pound yen, same thing. We can see what's actually going on there. Let's look at Aussie yen, which is a lot weaker, but there's that pressure to do it. Kiwi yen is going to be very similar, and we've got CAD yen and Swiss yen. Okay, I like this one. Strong double bottom, bullish divergence. So I have a little bit more faith that CAD yen is going to be able to push its way higher. Swiss yen possibly also slightly higher low also. So there could be some moves there. Again, I'm cautious of the levels of resistance above, but that doesn't look that looks for me is worthwhile keeping an eye on. Next one of interest, Euro Aussie. Trying to get out of this consolidation, but looks very bullish, and the weekly looks quite nice and bullish, and the monthly looking nice and bullish. So Euro Aussie could offer some good potential moves to the upside. Euro QB is too choppy. Not really a big fan of that. Let's jump across and see if Pound Aussie is also looking good. Pound Aussie very much so. So for day trading, even looking good. Pound Kiwi, that's just an absolute nightmare. But there does appear to be a bit of a level breaking out that it might want to move on from. So Pound Aussie, Euro Aussie catching my eye, which hints then it's worthwhile looking at the Aussie pairs to see if there's anything else there as well. Aussie Kiwi looks a bit bearish. Aussie CAD looking a bit bearish. It's that weak Australian dollar. Aussie Swissy wanting to head a little bit lower. That's it. So there are some pairs there that I quite like the look of, and they almost all seem to focus on either going to be the dollar or that Australian dollar specifically. And so now having a quick look at gold. We are technically in a downtrend, low highs, low lows, but you can see it's trying to turn around in this area, find support. That weekly candle, just an indecision, spinning top, and not really revealing much there. Let's have a look at silver. Silver closing slightly lower, but a similar type of behavior. So this week, what I'll be looking for is a break below these lows, potentially, or break below the low of last week's candle. Alternatively, see it push up a little bit higher. Very quickly run through copper. Copper looking nice and bullish, trying to break higher. It's a nice little flat level of resistance. Very bullish candles, very much trying to break through that and move higher. Then having a look at natural gas, we have managed to break through this bearish trend line. Overall, my expectation is for it to try and turn around, but I think now it's worthwhile getting rid of this at this time. We don't really need that now. We just need to start paying attention to what is happening now. It's on the other side of this trend line. We'll see if it's going to produce anything from that. So this week, I'll be looking for a break of this low or break of the highs for that. And then on crude. So crude is having a very good time at the moment. There's a little bit more room for it to run until it starts to hit the next few levels. You can see we've just hit sort of $80. Of course, still got a little bit more room before it can hit the top of this range. Any kind of pullbacks here for me would represent buying opportunities to the upside. Brent crude as well, also very bullish, need some pullbacks to this and see if there's some entry opportunities into those trends. Coffee not really looking that strong. Actually looks like it wants to continue to head lower. Let's look at wheat. I beg your pardon. Wheat is just very much range bound and messy. I'm going to walk away from that one. And sugar battling in its own way over here as well. So commodities taking a little bit of a hit at the moment. Cotton as well. Just look at this range bound behavior on the monthly. It's basically garbage. And you can see over here that strong rejection off those highs, keeping it in that area. So nothing exciting coming out of those commodities. And so futures traders will be a bit disappointed there. Then moving on to the global indices. So you can see here we've had a nice move and a pullback, bullish candle off a significant level for the Dow. And so there is still a really nice monthly candle. I'd like to see it push through this, a little bit of a level that we're at, but looking as though it has some potential to do that. Not too concerned at this time, not really expecting it to change much in terms of the monthly candle. Consolidation here, but a bullish inside candle as well for the S&P, maintains that bullishness. Again, at any time, this one's really nice. Nasdaq pulled back into this area here and produced a series of bullish candles, also an inside bullish candle. It's starting to show some weakness on the weekly. Most of these indices do need to have a correction within the bigger move. I'd love to see it happen on the weekly and happen for 2-3 weeks, have a nice strong correction and shake out some of the fearful people and then pick up and resume from there. The Russell also starting to stall there. You could see the exhaustion coming into the candles, but the monthly candle looking nice and bullish. We've also pulled back into this area. So again, we've got that question of we're a little bit overextended. Any kind of a pullback in my mind would be a healthy setup. We need to have that happen. Look at the FTSE, looks really good. Very, very nice monthly candle. If we could close with something like this, that is an incredibly positive sign, technically speaking. The DAX breaking through, going to highs, at least fresh highs in terms of recent data. There was a little bit of in the past of sort of bearish divergence. We had a correction. We've worked that out of our system, and now looking very nice. Nice bullish inside candle and continuing to the upside. So DAX looking very good. Europe, from what I can hear, economically not that bad, in relatively good shape. A little bit of exhaustion coming out on the S&P, the ASX, but the monthly looking nice and strong. That's that can kick off. And Nikkei has had one of the best runs in a while, and it would do very well from a bit of a correction to the downside. You can see that weekly is in an area where it could now potentially turn around and continue to the upside. And actually, that daily looking relatively nice and bullish. So there's a lot of bullish signs on the daily. The weeklies are not necessarily looking that bad. Monthlies are starting to be a bit overextended. But for now, that weekly could just continue to go. You get shorter retracements on the weekly, and then you get a very strong bull market. I'm happy either way, whether we get that weekly correction or we get a monthly correction. I'm happy with any of those. Because in either situation, they would then provide opportunities that we are waiting for anyway, especially if you are looking for markets to correct. It actually, in many ways, reduces the stress. The next time it starts to leg up, you know you've got some room to run. Right, running through individual equities. Apple stalling a little bit here, because you can see if you look at the last couple of months, you can see it's had some good runs up. But in the last few weeks, it's just been staying roughly where it is. Okay, so this is certainly one of those that could benefit from a weekly retracement. Amazon bottoming out here a little bit, but that weekly candle looking nice and strong. Doesn't want to quit just yet. That's okay. AT&T also trying to turn around here. You can see last week, not necessarily a great week. There's some bullish divergence creeping in here. So what I need to see this week is a break above these highs, or at least a move back up to that level to kind of create some innovation there. ARC is being lifted right now. You can see we've got some rejections at these levels, but this candle here shows that it isn't over just yet, and it's got a lot of room to the upside. So let's see if it can do that. Glencore starting to recover, some exhaustion in those wicks. There's some area here where it's battling a little bit. Once it gets above this 50-period moving average, it'll become that little bit more bullish. Let's see if it can do it this week. Tesco looks fine. Again, it's still in a good area for it to turn around and push high. Just most of them have these little wicks here. I want to see if we can push up from that. All right, so the Amex, again, failing at this level. Monthly, Amex not looking as strong now. Within the bigger picture, likely to ultimately break out, but just not looking like it's going to do that anytime soon. Berkshire Hathaway looks good. Look at that. That is beautiful. It's a really nice pullback. Very strong candles heading its way up to all-time highs. And also, yeah, it's relatively healthy. My expectation is that it's going to attempt to get up to those. Coca-Cola also. Nice little bullish candle there. Strong. Relatively straightforward double bottom here. I mean, so yeah, same thing I have here is that I would expect Coca-Cola to be able to push higher. Let's look at BP. Monthly looks good. So it looks like it's ultimately going to keep going. We can see Crude Oils having a good time. So that makes sense. Exxon not as strong. I'd be curious as to what the difference is between the two. But certainly once it breaks out of this consolidation and easy enough for me to set an alert to do that, then we would know it's going to happen. General Motors, overall, still stuck in this range. You can see that monthly, just not able to get out of it. Again, those ones are probably worthwhile just putting an alert on. Very solid move from JP Morgan Chase, and I think as well, I'm just going to copy this, just move it up to about here. There we go. So my expectation is might be a couple of these where there's a few pullbacks, but otherwise I think they'll continue to push up until they can get to those levels. We've got Adidas, also looks good in isolation. I'm very happy with that. Also just managed to break and close on the other side. That's a really nice momentum candle. It's gapped up here. Looks really good. So Adidas looking nice and strong there. Meta as well. This is ridiculous. Of course, just keeps going. Bullish candle closing near the highs. Looking at it over here. I mean, it is ridiculous. This really, Meta is just insane in terms of its performance. So we'll see if that can, at some point, this really is going to have a pullback. And if we do Fibonacci retracements from when that happens, it should be a big one. I would expect so. Morgan Stanley also looks good. Looks like it's leaking to the upside, slipping. Battling with a bit of resistance right now, but I think ultimately capable of going through that. In video as well. So this is still looking strong. 500 was the upper range of where I would expect it to go. It was looking a little bit weak last week. Not looking so much now. It still looks good. You can see a bit of a battle happening here, but this candle looks super strong. So what I'm going to do is just mark the level there to see if that ultimately holds. We'll see. So this could go sort of parabolic, but it's already had a really big run. So that's why I'm sort of, this is the area where I would expect it to start to stall. All right. Netflix, all right, taking a bit of a breather, but it's come back down. And really, I spoke, excuse me, I spoke last week. This is a good area for it to pull back into and then keep going. PayPal, not looking so bad, not super strong, but also is definitely trying to breach this level, and I think it'll pick up pace. If it could get above that 77, I would expect it to keep going. Spotify, very nice correction on the weekly. So this is the kind of correction I'd love to see happen with NVIDIA. Now what I'm looking for here is a bullish weekly candle, which maybe will come this following week. And if that is the case, then it's had enough of a correction and it can continue up. So that's what I need to see this coming week on the spider. This battle over here obviously needs to work its way through that. Overall, it's a mishmash. It's a mess over here. But once this moves, once there's a breakthrough on this, I think it's gonna go. FedEx has recovered. So I started following FedEx on these videos probably around about, holy cow, but just sort of more than a year ago, and actually it has managed to recover and go beyond those levels there. So looking good, amazing, going back up. Tesla battling with this downward sort of trend line. Overall, look at that pullback. There's a weekly bullish candle here. The 50, 20, and 10 have changed into a bullish formation, and the MACD is bullish. The implication is that it's going to take another run to the upside. Okay, Vanguard also just look at that, just ticking through, looking good. This makes sense that it's going to take another run to the all-time highs. We'll see if we're going to do that. Where are we now in terms of that? Yeah, we've passed this point now. So yeah, again, a lot of these, I think they might have this kind of fuel injection until they get up to the highs and then possibly have their correction to the downside. And anything to note on any of the other charts? Eurobunds, they're still not getting love, so the market basically doesn't really have much appetite for it. And then we've got Bitcoin. So again, for me, Bitcoin is going to pick up when we see more of that boost across. Not getting a lot of love right now, but also not dropping necessarily. So for me, most of this it'll push out ultimately to the upside, but just not sure when that's going to happen. You've got a nice little bullish candle here on Solana. This could be what takes it through. And overall, it is trying to creep higher. I'd be surprised with these if they dropped lower, because I could see all of them are trying to turn around where they are. They're not on fire, they haven't taken off, but they're also not failing. And I do expect them ultimately to start to move to the upside. So I'm expecting that. And that is it. Ladies and gents, that is it from me for this week. Have a fantastic week. Trade carefully, trade cautiously. There's going to be some swings and roundabouts, especially in the currency markets and gold and silver, crude oils as well. But for the most part, I think crude oils are very attractive, and a couple of those cross pairs are attractive. And in principle, the markets are bullish. We are due for a correction on some of these on the weekly time frame, but it might not come for a while. It might not come until a lot of these charts have hit their all-time highs, and then maybe there's some selling that happens there. The markets are there's an appetite that's happening there. So that's it. I'll leave you with that. And yeah, have a fantastic week.